About a year ago, I made a video on the most limited Terraria skyisland map possible. Ever since that video came out, I wanted somebody to play the world and see if it was actually possible. Unsurprisingly, nobody was actually crazy enough to do it without glitches such as transmutation. However, because I wanted an actual challenge, I decided to give it a try. And because I knew I wasn't going to beat it, I needed a goal, and that goal was spend 100 days in the world. I knew this world was going to be hard, but I didn't think it was going to be this hard. Before this video starts, I should mention, I recorded all this footage last year, meaning some video clips have been lost and I forgot exactly what I did in most of the game, but it shouldn't really matter because most of the clips are there. As you can see, this is the world, and there's not much to do. In the video explaining this world, I said that I would need to wait for a slime rain, and hopefully have a slime be hit by a fallen star so I could get loot. Although I'm pretty sure it's technically possible, in practice this is going to take a long time. But because I was determined to give this a try, I decided to wait for this to happen. Unsurprisingly, it never happened. I waited 45 minutes, which is just about 2 Terraria days, and then I realized there was another way I could actually get loot. One of the only enemies that can spawn without ground are harpies. If I could somehow manage to kill a harpy, I could get its drops. But harpies don't drop blocks, unless it's Christmas, in which case I can get presents. Many people don't like the idea that I can play during Christmas and get special drops, but it's a valid strategy and it's my world, so my rules. Anyway, so I started making my way up to space. For those who don't know, harpies don't spawn in the middle part of the world, so I also had to travel about 400 blocks vertically. So after spending one full day of moving, which is 24 minutes, I eventually got my first harpy. Unfortunately, it didn't end so well. And there was a slight problem. Because I've now moved the 2 blocks, there was now no land for the player to spawn on. This did make the world unplayable, so the only way of fixing this is by moving the spawn point. I could restart the world, but I didn't want to do that all again just to die again. So moving the spawn point was the best option. So after an hour of playing the game, I finally got my first item. It was a gravestone. About 10 minutes later, I got my second item. Unfortunately, I wasn't recording, but it was a fallen star. At around the 2-hour mark, which is around day 5, I've amassed a selection of graves. I also created a program that would automatically pause the game if there was ever a slime rain detected. This would check if there was any green text in chat. It wasn't perfect, however, I never actually ended up needing it. And by this point, I was tired of farming harpies. I've now spent over an hour farming harpies to no avail. The most I could do was probably around 20 damage, and although it's probably possible, I didn't think I was going to be able to kill one. So was this it? Was this the end of the challenge? The 2 ways of obtaining items being virtually impossible? Not yet. After a lot of brainstorming, I've realized that I can use the bottom of the world to my advantage. If I can get blocks down there, I can walk on the bottom of the world, making them go off screen so I can get enemies to spawn. So that's what I did. I slowly made my way down to the underworld. I somehow don't have the video clip for this, but this is exactly what I was doing. After making it all the way down there and getting blocks off screen, I finally got my first enemy to spawn. Yeah, this is the only video clip I have. I seem to have forgot to reset it after recording something else, but you can still hear that I killed one. Unfortunately, I didn't get a present, however I was going to be luckier on my second attempt, and just after 3 hours, which would be around day 8, I finally got my first present. Not only that, but I got one of the best drops I could get. With more blocks, I could now create a more efficient farm. After farming for a little bit, I got a couple more presents. I even got a magma stone, which isn't very helpful when you're fighting enemies that don't take fire damage. But besides presents, there wasn't anything useful I could get here, so I decided to move up to the cavern layer. And very shortly after, I got the bone merchant to spawn. Unlike in Terrablock, the bombs aren't overly helpful. However, I did buy a bunch of rope. This would help me more easily travel vertically. I could have gotten the wand of sparking, however without mana it wasn't much help. But it was fine because shortly after I got a rally. And after farming for a little while, I then got my first piece of armor. And after a little bit more farming, I had the bone merchant spawn again with the exact same stuff. But I had basically all I wanted, so I decided to head up to the surface. After 5.5 hours, which is around day 13, I finally got to the surface. I can't find the clip of me getting to the surface, however I have a clip of me there. So as you can see, I just started farming zombies. And during the day, I used all the graves I've got to farm a graveyard. This was because besides potions, zombies could give me better loot than slimes could. I'm somehow missing the footage for all the farming I've done, and opening 300 or so presents. But basically, I just farmed a lot, opened the presents, and decided I wanted to go to the dungeon. After traveling 13,000 blocks, I finally made it to the dungeon. But I wouldn't be coming back anytime soon just because Skeletron is too powerful. But now skipping ahead 6 hours, I was on day 35. I just kept farming and eventually I got my first platinum coin. At this point, all I could do was just farm and wait. To make any sort of progression, I needed a slime rain to happen. As you know, these happen very rarely. I created a program to calculate the odds of this happening, and without the criteria met, in 100 days, there were going to be about 2.2 slime rains, meaning I will have to be waiting quite a lot. So I had a long time to think about where the best place to farm enemies is. And slime rains can only happen on the surface, so no matter what, I would have to be farming on the surface. But I can also farm in a graveyard, where the groom and the bride can spawn, and as of 1.4.4, they can both drop the bloody tear outside of a blood moon. And for some reason, unlike unlike all the other event spawners, I can actually use a bloody tear without needing more health. So I started farming for a bloody tear. But while doing that, 21.5 hours in, on day 53, there was a slime raid. If I could kill the king slime, I could then start progressing in the game. But unfortunately, I didn't kill enough slimes for it even to spawn. I was even questioning whether or not I was able to kill that many slimes in time. But I didn't care too much because I wanted to see if I could still get a blood moon. And on day 64, after 3.5 more hours of farming, I got a bloody tear. Unfortunately, I was not recording, but that didn't matter. So the next night, I started a blood moon. I was hoping I could get a bloody tear or anything else. However, I did not. Besides footage, the blood moon did not give me anything. But I had to go back to farming. And while I kept farming, 4 hours later, on day 75, I had the second slime raid. Unlike the first time, the king slime actually did spawn. However, I did not realize that he could not teleport on the bridge I made, so he just despawned. This was the second failed slime raid, and statistically a third one wasn't going to happen before the 100 days were up. At this point, I had spent over 30 hours in this world. I was getting pretty bored. All I was doing was just farming over and over again. But I didn't let the boredom stop me. I filled the holes in the bridge so it could be one flat platform, and after waiting another 7 hours, I had another slime raid. This was day 92, 8 days before the challenge would be over. But as they say, third time's a charm. On my third attempt at the slime raid, I got the king slime to spawn, and after almost running out of bridge, I just managed to kill him in time. Finally, after 37 hours in this world, I was going to be able to progress. On day 93, I opened the treasure bag, and I got the solidifier and 2 pieces of the armor. Although this armor isn't great, it's going to be the best armor I can get for a very long time. And the solidifier means I can now craft the workbench. Not only that, but also storage. I can finally empty my inventory. So that is what I did, and right after that, I went down to the underground to create NPC housing, and then on the surface. Now with suitable NPC housing, I can get NPCs to spawn in. And not only now can I teleport using the pylons, I can also buy some pretty good loot. Most notably, healing potions from the merchant, grenades from the demolitionist, a grappling hook from the zoologist, and later, a ranged weapon from the arms dealer. In the current stage I'm at, I'm able to get 6 town NPCs, along with 4 town slimes. And because I felt like it, I spawned Skeletron. I knew I wasn't going to kill him, but I didn't think I was going to be this bad. I'm definitely going to need better weapons and armor if I even want a chance. And the best weapon I could think of at the time is the Demon Scythe, so I went to the underworld and started farming. And while I was down there, I got the Traveling Merchant to spawn. There wasn't anything good except for sake, which I did take. And the next day I had another Traveling Merchant spawn, and he had even worse stuff. And at this point I had almost all the NPCs I could get, except for the arms dealer. But how was I going to get a gun? Fortunately, from presents, I'm able to get a single gun which is able to spawn him. So that I did, and eventually he spawned. And so I bought the mini shark. It's not the best weapon, but it is a ranged weapon, so I took it. But at this point there isn't much to do. Besides farming for a demon scythe, the only thing I could think of doing is creating a wall of flesh bridge. And so I started making the bridge the same way that I did in Terrablock. At this point the 100 days were up. I had managed to kill the king slime, but no other bosses. I think the wall of flesh is my best bet, but I'm still not sure on which way to go. So that's where the footage stops. 10 months ago I recorded all this, expecting 1.4.5 to come out relatively quickly. Not only that, but I didn't think this video was going to be very good. If you guys want to see more to this challenge, maybe another 100 days, where I kill the wall of flesh and maybe something else, leave a comment down below. And if you want more details about this world, join the Discord server and ask me. Anyways, that's it for this video, and thanks for watching.